Loud enough? No? All right. How about now? All right, I'll use this thing. Okay. All right, I'll use this thing. I'm a TAM. A TAM is for Technical Account Manager. My world is post-sales. Mark's world is pre-sales. My world is post-sales. And I live right here in Eagan. And I'm part of a Red Hat group that does TAMs for telecom companies. And so pick your big telco, and Red Hat's installed there, and most of them have TAMs, and I'm one of them. And in my life, here we'll just go to the next slide. Which we do that. I should probably know how to do this, shouldn't I? Oh, there we go. Okay. In my life, I've seen lots of data breaches, and I've been the victim of a few. This is my image for one of them. In 2011, I was a credit card fraud victim, and I did a whole bunch of work with U.S. Bank, and we had all the transaction IDs and all the details and everything nailed. Kim from U.S. Bank spent an hour with me on the phone. I sent it to the FBI, and I'm still waiting for a response back. It's 29. It's by my Minnesota math. It's 8 years later. I don't think I'm going to hear from anybody from the FBI. And I've got other data breach stories too. I've got back in 2000, I ran my own DNS server, and somebody penetrated it, and I took some grief from some friends of mine about that, and they said, "Greg, you got to call the FBI." So I called the FBI, and they didn't know what the internet was in those days. They've gotten better since then. So I'm sensitive to this data breach stuff because my personal information is inside a lot of these places, and it makes me mad when I have to go get new credit cards. And if somebody steals my identity and ruins my credit, well, that's going to really make me mad because I kind of like my good credit. And so I've been a student of this stuff for a while, and I spent 15 years building firewalls before going to work for Red Hat. So I've seen a lot of this stuff firsthand. And I want to. You've heard a lot of demos and stuff. I'm not going to do any demos. This is not a really high-tech thing because, first of all, it's 4 o'clock and everybody's thinking about dinner. And so I want to advocate some things here for our audience. Down arrow. Yes. Here's the agenda. I have 4 things I want to talk about. It'd be good if I knew what they were. What's the state of security today? And I can see better when I have my cheaters on, so I'll just put them on and just embarrass myself. What's the cure? I'm gonna make the case that our state of security is really, really bad today. And what's the cure? And after I give you what I think the cure is, your first thoughts are going to be, "Greg, you've lost your mind." And so I'm going to defend myself. And then I have a call to action. So and I'll get through this quickly, and then we can all go eat dinner. This is every security presentation starts off with the kind of the wall of shame. If you go to Google and search for Fortune 500 data breach, just pick a few companies at random, and they've all suffered data breaches. So I'm not I might be intentionally picking on a few. Like I'm going to intentionally pick on Equifax because I was one of those 143 million Americans. But the others are pretty much Marriott. I guess we'll pick on Marriott. Yahoo lost 3 billion passwords. Mine wasn't in there. I mean, there's a few, and I have some local companies on the bottom. 3M was a victim of a chatbot problem. It wasn't really 3M, or not 3M. 3M had a medical thing. Best Buy was a victim of a chatbot problem. Not really their fault, but kind of it was because their name was on it. Anyway, every company has had this problem. Every single one, just about. And what's up with that? We're supposed to be smarter than the crooks out there that steal from us. So why are they stealing from us? But wait, there's more. You saw the slide from the earlier presentation about how many records was 1.34 billion records stolen in April, just in last month, and that was down from earlier. The average in 2019 is 1.46 billion with a B per month. That's how many records are stolen per month. And then this is from a publication called IT Governance. There's a bazillion others that track this stuff, but just check this out. I'm going to zip through a bunch of slides, and don't worry about the content of the slides. I just want to give you a feel for how many data breaches have gone on. So here's some, and here's some more, And if you look closely, one was from Dakota County, and there's another one. There's a couple others from Minnesota. There's one from Oregon. Here's some more, some ransomware attacks. I've got some things to say about ransomware in a minute. Here's some more. Here's some more. Here's some more. Here's a little bit more. We got one more, and I think that's it. Yes, that's it. If you counted all those bullets, that adds up to 74. 74 attacks in April, 30 days in April. By my computer calculator, that's an average of about 2.5 incidents every day in April where somebody lost data. Does that suck? Say yes. And that was what was documented. That's the stuff we know about. And as you know, it takes a while to report these things. Here's some more. This came in. I was scrambling just as on the table here. A buddy of mine pointed out this article to me this morning. There's a ProPublica article about ransomware. Apparently, some of these ransomware mitigation companies. So you're a ransomware victim, and you bring in a ransomware mitigation company, and you pay them a whole bunch of money because you don't want to put money into terrorist hands. Well, what these companies do is they pay the terrorists and they charge you more. They mark it up. Just tell me that makes any sense. The Department of Homeland Security thinks that there's 4,000 ransomware attacks on average every single day since 2016. I'm not sure I believe that, but I thought I'd share it. It's an enormous problem, and we right here in this room, we're the ones that are going to solve it. We're the ones. It's not politicians. It's us. What do these attacks have in common? Go the right way, Greg. What they have in common is nobody knows what happened, except for Equifax. We know what happened with Equifax because there was a congressional investigation to figure it out. But most of the others, we don't know what happened. How did their systems break down? Who messed up? And what steps are they taking to fix it? We don't know. Everybody hides behind it's an ongoing investigation, and you read the same news that I do, and you're system admin, so you know what I'm saying. I don't need to emphasize it. What's the cure for this mess? Oh, here, my visual aid. Great Scott, what's the cure? I have a counterintuitive proposal, and this is the part where you're going to say I'm nuts. Open it all up. Everything we do for security, get with your security teams, publish it to the whole world. What's your incident response plan? What's your mitigation plan? What does your topology look like? How are your IP addresses laid out? What are your node names? Tell the whole world. Tell that stuff to the whole world. And this is the part where you're just going to shut down and say, Greg, you're out of your mind. You should look like a mad scientist because you're crazy. Demand open wins. That's what I want to. If you don't have any other message, open wins, and that's what I want to get across. Demand openness from all your suppliers and provide openness to all your stakeholders. If you open up about this stuff, well, here. This argument is 166 years old, and I'm only a little bit crazy. That was just posing for pictures. I wasn't really going to short jumper cables out and ruin my car. This is a book written by Alfred Charles Hobbs in 1853. That's 166 years ago. My grandparents' were alive in 1853, I think. I might have to put in another grandparents in there. I tried to calculate it out one day, but I fell asleep. He wrote a book called, it's just a dynamite title. It just kicks you on the edge of your seat. Rudimentary Treatise on the Construction of Locks. And here's what this is the bottom of page 2 and the top of page 3. But don't worry, you don't need to read Google extracts of images of pages. I quoted it for you. There's just a little bit I want to read. A commercial and in some respects a social doubt, they used different language in 1853 than we use today, has been started within the past year or two whether or not it's right to discuss so openly the security or insecurity of locks. Many well-meaning persons suppose that the discussion respecting the means for baffling the supposed safety of locks offers a premium for dishonesty by showing others how to be dishonest. This is a fallacy. And then there's more. Alfred Charles Hobbs was a famous locksmith, and he went to Britain and he embarrassed the Brits by breaking their best locks. And then he came back and wrote this book about it. And if he were alive today, he would be an internet researcher, don't you think? And so he wrote this book about how mechanical locks work, and he caught a whole bunch of grief about opening that up and teaching that to people in 1853. Here's how that language would go in 2019 today. Bad guys spend all day probing good guys, and they spend all night collaborating with each other to make their probes better for the next day. That's how we'd say it today. The bad guys already know everything there is to know about our networks. When we close up and keep everything a secret, we only hurt ourselves. Level the playing field and open it up. That's my crazy idea. You're going to like this slide. This is the deepdarkweb.net, and this was a gathering place for crooks. If you want to find illegal drugs or you want to find dark web websites to go do any kind of illegal things, these guys kept a directory of it. And so I use this slide when I harangue people about opening up. Bad guys collaborate. Why can't good guys collaborate? Well, guess what? Good guys did collaborate. I went to look at that slide this morning to see if there was an update to it, and that's Deep Dark Web today. The FBI shut it down. And this Wired article, this Wired magazine article, has a great story about how law enforcement agencies all over the world talk to each other. Can you imagine that? They talk to each other, and they shut these clowns down, and some of them are going to jail. That's a clap thing. So collaboration works. That's my point. The bad guys have been doing it for a long time. The good guys are doing it. How can we do it? I'm just a sysadmin. Nobody listens to me. That's the next objection. I'm just a TAM and nobody listens to me either. But you know what? We have a voice. We're going to fix it so people listen. Does that make sense? Is that a good thing? This is where you say yes. This is the participation part. So if nobody wants to listen to you, listen to this guy. This is Warren Buffett. I don't know much about cyber, but I do think it's the #1 problem with mankind. That's he said it. That's his voice. So you don't use your voice, use Warren Buffett's voice. I hear people listen to what he has to say. I tell people now, care and share to be prepared. If you have busy people that don't want to know all there is to know about security, 6-word rhyme. Care and share to be prepared. Kind of like if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit, if anyone's old enough to remember that court trial. Care and share to be prepared. Here's, I have to take my own medicine. I'm going to share a mistake I made, and I'm going to embarrass myself, because if I tell everybody else we need to do this, I should do it myself. I run a website, dgregscott.com. It's got cybersecurity stuff in it. I tell the world I know all this stuff about cybersecurity, and then I did a really dumb thing in my website. I'll just tell you. My buddy Igor found out about it. Igor is from Ukraine. His native language is not English. His native language is Ukrainian, so that H character makes a good sound. So his name is Igor. And we were trading messages one night on Facebook, and he says, "Greg, I see your nice website. May I hack it?" And I said, "Sure, Igor, take your best shot. Have a good time. You're not going to do anything to me because I'm Mr. Professional." So it took him about, an hour, and here's what he found. That's Igor giving me a boatload of grief. And you know what? I deserved it. And I would rather be embarrassed. I'd rather get a boatload of grief from my buddy Igor than have somebody penetrate my website and deface it, because that's really bad for selling books about cybersecurity. It turned out that I had a configuration problem in my http.conf. You're not supposed to say options indexes. That means everybody can directory the files that are in there. Only stupid people do that. So I was a stupid people. But Igor found it and fixed it. And you know what? That's being open. That was embarrassing. I went through all the emotions I went through all the denial. I don't have time for this, but eventually I had to buckle down and fix it, and I'm glad I did. Lesson learned, and I'll share it with the world, and hopefully that can be an inspiration for everyone else to share it with the world too. Okay, what do we do? What do we do about these problems? What do these companies do? How do we as sysadmins go and convince boards of directors and security departments and high-level people who wear really nice suits every day? How do we go back and convince them that they need to do this stuff? And I guess we just do it. If these organizations were more open, maybe Equifax would have saved themselves $1 billion+. And maybe the CEO of Equifax would still be the CEO of Equifax, and maybe their CISO would still be in place. Maybe all those top guys wouldn't have lost their jobs. That might be some ammo that we can use as sysadmins, I would think. Uber, don't get me started about Uber and the $100,000 they paid to their attacker. How much money did that cost their shareholders when word got out that they turned into partners for the people that attacked them? You heard that was 2016, 2017, I forget what year that was. Look at some of the press conferences that the city of Atlanta held when they were recovering from their ransomware attack. The mayor and all of her top aides, they didn't look really smart because they didn't have anything to tell anybody. The message is for all of our top managers, unless you want to look like these guys, share what you learn and demand that others share what you learn. Present it at conferences and subject it to this gauntlet of criticism. It's better to be criticized in a conference than it is to be plundered in the open marketplace. Seems to me. And then the final slide is how to get a hold of me. gscott@redhat.com, and there's a whole bunch of social media pieces too. If you want me to come talk to you, I live right here. I'll be happy to. We'll set up an appointment. I'll come. We'll make an appointment. I'll talk to whoever you want to talk to, and just get in touch with me, and I'll get you a PDF for all this. And thanks for putting up with me. We whipped through that in record time.